It is wonderful, wonderful to be back with all of you in the Lone Star State. Everything's bigger in Texas. I love you back. Even the welcomes are bigger. So, in appreciation, I wanted to give a big policy speech outside on a really hot day. Those of you who are still wearing your jackets, feel free to take them off. I hope everybody's wearing sunscreen. Now, you say you live here, you don't need it, huh? Well, it is a great honor to be here, and I want to express my appreciation to all of you for taking the time to come out today. Thank you. You know, about a week ago, I delivered a commencement address at Miami-Dade Community College, which is one of the most diverse schools in the nation. The graduates were proud that their class could claim heritage from 181 countries around the world. 181 countries. Many of the students were immigrants themselves, coming to America with little more than the dream of their parents and the clothes on their back. A handful had discovered, only in adolescence or adulthood, that they were undocumented. But they worked hard, and they gave it their all. So they earned those diplomas. And at the ceremony, 181 flags, one for every nation that was represented, was marched across the stage. And each one was applauded by the graduates and the relatives with ties to those countries. So when the Haitian flag went by, all the Haitian kids, Haitian American kids, shouted out. And when the Guatemalan flag went by, all the kids of Guatemalan heritage shouted out. When the Ukrainian flag went by, I think one kid shouted out. This was down in Miami. If it had been in Chicago, there would have been more. But then the last flag, the American flag, came into view. And everyone in the room erupted in applause. Everybody cheered. So, yes, their parents and grandparents, some of the graduates themselves, had come from every corner of the globe, but it was here that they had found opportunity. It was here that they had a chance to contribute to the nation that is their home. And it was a reminder of a simple idea as old as America itself. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. We define ourselves as a nation of immigrants. A nation that welcomes those willing to embrace America's ideals and America's precepts. That's why millions of people, ancestors to most of us, braved hardship and great risk to come here. So they could be free to work and worship and start a business and live their lives in peace and prosperity. The Asian immigrants who made their way to California's Angel Island. The German and Scandinavians who settled across the Midwest. The waves of Irish and Italian and Polish and Russian and Jewish immigrants who leaned against the railing to catch their first glimpse of the Statue of Liberty. This flow of immigrants has helped make this country stronger and more prosperous. We can point to the genius of Einstein, designs of IMP, the stories of Isaac Asimov, the entire industries that were forged by Andrew Carnegie. And then when I think about immigration, I think about the naturalization ceremonies that we've held at the White House for members of our military. Nothing could be more inspiring. Even though they were not yet citizens when they joined our military, these men and women signed up to serve. We did one event at the White House, and a young man named Granger Michael from Papua New Guinea, a Marine who had been deployed to Iraq 3 times, was there. And you know what he said about becoming an American citizen? He said, "I might as well. I love this country already." That's all he said. Marines aren't big on speeches. Another was a woman named Perla Ramos, who was born and raised in Mexico and came to the United States shortly after 9/11 and joined the Navy. And she said, "I take pride in our flag and the history we write day by day." That's the promise of this country, that anyone can write the next chapter in our story. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what faith you worship. What matters is that you believe in the ideals on which we were founded. That you believe that all of us are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. All of us deserve our freedoms and our pursuit of happiness. In embracing America, you can become American. That is what makes this country great. That enriches all of us. And yet, at the same time, we're here at the border today. We're here at the border because we also recognize that being a nation of laws goes hand in hand with being a nation of immigrants. This too is our heritage. This too is important. The truth is, we've often wrestled with the politics of who is and who isn't allowed to come into this country. This debate is not new. At times, there's been fear and resentment directed towards newcomers, especially in hard economic times. And because these issues touch deeply on what we believe, touch deeply on our convictions about who we are as a people, about what it means to be an American, these debates often elicit strong emotions. That's one reason it's been so difficult to reform our broken immigration system. When an issue is this complex, when it raises such strong feelings, it's easier for politicians to defer the problem until the next election. And there's always a next election. So we've seen a lot of blame and a lot of politics and a lot of ugly rhetoric around immigration. And we've seen good faith efforts from leaders of both parties. By the way, I just noticed, you know, those of you who have chairs, if you want to sit down, feel free. You know, there's no rule about having to stand when But we've seen leaders of both parties who tried to work on this issue, but then their efforts fell prey to the usual Washington games. And all the while, we've seen the mounting consequences of decades of inaction. Today, there are an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants here in the United States. Some cross the border illegally. Others avoid immigration laws by overstaying their visas. Regardless of how they came, the overwhelming majority of these folks are just trying to earn a living and provide for their families. we have to acknowledge they've broken the rules. They've cut in front of the line. And what is also true is that the presence of so many illegal immigrants makes a mockery of all those who are trying to immigrate legally. Also, because undocumented immigrants live in the shadows, where they're vulnerable to unscrupulous businesses that skirt taxes and pay workers less than the minimum wage or cut corners with health and safety laws. This puts companies who follow the rules and Americans who rightly demand the minimum wage or overtime or just a safe place to work, it puts those businesses at a disadvantage. Think about it. Over the past decade, even before the recession hit, middle-class families were struggling to get by as the costs went up for everything from health care to college tuition to groceries to gas. Their incomes didn't go up with those prices. We're seeing it again right now with gas prices. So one way to strengthen the middle class in America is to reform the immigration system so that there's no longer a massive underground economy that exploits a cheap source of labor while depressing wages for everybody else. I want incomes for middle-class families to rise again.